I was with him for 10 years. And on my birthday, he announced he was marrying my best friend. I smiled and wished them happiness, then turned around and orchestrated his downfall. I stood in the spotlight, the champagne swirling in a perfect arc against the glass. Thomas had said there would be a surprise tonight. I deliberately tucked my hair behind my ear, revealing the diamond earring he gave me last year. Had once said he would replace it with a wedding ring when his company went public. The large screen suddenly lit up, and a shower of roses rained down from the ceiling. I lowered my head, ready to say, "I do." When I looked up again, I saw him on one knee, but what he held in his palm wasn't a ring, but the hand of my best friend, Madison. "Marry me, Madison." 3 words, like 3 daggers, stabbing my eardrums. The room erupted, the air filled with a chorus of congratulations. I took a sip of champagne, the sweetness on my tongue exploding into arsenic. Raising my glass, I cut through the crowd and walked toward them. "Congratulations. May you have a long and happy life together." My voice wasn't loud, but it silenced the entire hall in an instant. Thomas' eyes flickered, as if he had finally remembered my existence. Madison blinked at me innocently. "Ava, you'll wish us well, won't you?" I smiled. "Of course, I'll drink to that. You two can do as you please." I raised my hand and poured the entire glass of wine over her head. The champagne trickled down her perfectly styled hair and onto her white dress, like an impromptu, messy, and spectacular wedding. I turned, casually placing the empty glass on a passing waiter's tray. Ava Thomas chased after me, dragging me into the fire escape. The door slammed shut with a bang, cutting off the noise. "Stop making a scene, she's pregnant." His voice was low and hoarse, laced with impatience. I stared at his cuff, at the platinum button I had sewn on for him, a familiar glint in my eye. "I see," I nodded, "a double blessing. Then why are you panicking?" He was speechless, his knuckles white from clenching his fists. I stood on my toes, straightened his tie, and let my fingertips brush against his Adam's apple. "Don't be afraid, Thomas. The game is just beginning." The first thing I did when I got back to my apartment was tear every single photo of us off the walls. 137 pictures, from a street stall to an office building, from a basement to the CBD. The pieces fell to the floor like a blanket of snow. I stepped on them barefoot, and beads of blood seeped out, but I felt no pain. I opened a drawer and took out a yellowed ledger. September 2015. Expense, 3 million. Note, inheritance from mother. Startup capital for Thomas business. His flamboyant signature followed. I took a photo and posted it on a private social media account, visible only to a few friends. The caption, "Debts must be paid, it's only natural." As soon as I posted it, my phone buzzed. "Thomas, be good, come to the company tomorrow. I'll give you 5 equity as hush money." I replied, 5? Is that an offer for a beggar? Then how much do you want?" "What I want, you can't afford." After sending that, I turned off my phone and removed the SIM card. I stepped into the bathroom, the hot water turning my skin red. In the steam, I saw my 19-year-old self. The night market was bustling. I was manning a tiny stall, selling t-shirts for him. He counted the coins and smiled at me. "Ava, one day I'll make you the boss wife." He had kept his promise, except the boss wife wasn't me. I closed my eyes, letting the water wash away my tears. When I opened them again, there was only cold resolve. "Thomas, for 10 years of my youth, you'll pay with your entire fortune." I dried myself and put on a black trench coat. At 2 in the morning, I drove to the riverfront. The wind whipped my hair around like a flag of vengeance. I opened my phone, created a new note, and wrote, "Step 1, ruin Madison's reputation. Step 2, bankrupt Thomas. Step 3, watch them tear each other apart. Save, lock screen." I looked up. The neon lights on the opposite bank reflected on the river's surface like a raging fire. I laughed softly. "The crematorium is ready. The stars of the show may take their places." The next day at 9, Thomas' lawyer met me at a quiet Starbucks. He pushed a manila envelope across the table. Inside was a deed for a small suburban apartment. "MS. Song, Mr. Lee says that once you sign, all debts between you will be settled." I flipped through a couple of pages and laughed. A 2-bedroom, worth less than one of his sports cars. And the equity. The lawyer adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. "The company is about to go public, Mr. Lease, meaning ISIT has nothing to do with you." I raised my hand and pushed the file back. "Tell him if he wants my silence, he can come in person." The lawyer looked troubled. I added, "If he's not here in 10 minutes, I'm taking reporters to the showroom downstairs." In the showroom, Thomas was holding an inauguration ceremony for Madison as the chief brand officer. 8 minutes later, he appeared, wearing sunglasses, a smudge of lipstick on his collar. Ava, don't take it too far. I held up my phone. The livestream was on, with over 100,000 viewers. Mr. Lee, after your ex-girlfriend supported your rise to the top, you fob her off with a worthless apartment. Has your net worth depreciated so quickly? The comments were flooded with scumbag. His face turned ashen. He snatched the phone and ended the stream. How much do you want? 40 equity, cashed out at the 2014 original valuation. In my account within 3 days. You're dreaming. I stood up and leaned close to his ear. Then I'll see you on the trending topics. I have recordings. You know. I turned to leave, hearing him smash a cup behind me. The sound of shattering glass, like an opening gong. That afternoon, I returned to my apartment and cut up all the clothes I owned that matched his. I put the fabric scraps in a clear bag, took a picture, and posted it on the company's internal network. Title: A Farewell Gift. Wishing you a successful IPO. The employee chat groups exploded. Someone anonymously leaked a story about Thomas misusing the startup funds. The stock price didn't rise, but the scandal did. I brewed a cup of black tea and watched the sunset. First blood, drawn. That evening, my doorbell rang. Madison stood there in 7-centimeter heels, her baby bump slightly visible. Ava, I'm here to deliver an invitation on Thomas' behalf. A gold-embossed invitation was held out to me, dated for the 1st of next month. I opened it. Tucked inside was an ultrasound picture. The baby is 3 months old, the first grandson of the Lee family. She smiled like a white lotus, but couldn't hide the triumph in her eyes. I poured her a glass of warm water. Getting pregnant despite a low sperm count, a medical miracle. Her fingers twitched, spilling the water. What nonsense are you talking about? I tossed a copy of Thomas' medical report from last year onto the table. Need me to zoom in for you? Her face went pale. She instinctively shielded her stomach. I leaned in and whispered, Madison, stolen things are only yours if you can keep them. She shot up from her seat, the chair crashing to the floor. Ava, you just wait. The door slammed shut. I picked up the invitation from the floor, tore it in half, and threw it in the trash. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Amniocentesis appointment form. Thomas' mother has already signed. The sender Damien. I smirked and replied, the show is getting better and better. The next morning, before I was awake, my doorbell was being pressed like a drill. Thomas' mother burst in with 2 bodyguards, her jewels unable to hide the fury on her face. Ava, look what you've done. She slapped the ultrasound report across my face. The edge of the paper cut my cheek, and a bead of blood instantly formed. Auntie, please, have a seat. I went to the kitchen and slowly started brewing coffee. If anything happens to Madison's baby, it'll make you pay with your life. What a coincidence. I'd also like to know who the baby's father is. I handed her a USB drive. It contained the surveillance footage of Madison leaving my apartment last night. She had slipped and hit a decorative table in the hallway all by herself. Thomas' mother's expression shifted dramatically. Auntie, before the amniocentesis results are out, you'd be better off keeping an eye on her. Not me. A bodyguard stepped forward but was stopped by her raised hand. She stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. Thomas said you want 40 of the equity. Yes. Such a big appetite. Be careful you don't choke. I smiled. Auntie, when I sold my mother's inheritance to save the company, you put your thumbprint on the contract too. Have you forgotten? I pulled a copied document from a drawer and flicked it with my finger. Her pupils contracted. After a long moment, she managed to say, you'd better watch yourself. After they left, the aroma of coffee still filled the room. I raised my cup to the surveillance camera. Second blood, drawn. The next day, I was still asleep when my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. Photo. It was a paternity test report. The result was derived from a strand of Thomas' hair I had taken and data from one of Madison's prenatal checkups. As I suspected, the child in Madison's womb was not Thomas. I didn't post the report online. Instead, I opened the Notes app on my phone and added a new line. Let the bullet fly for a while. Wait for the perfect moment. When the market opened on Monday, the company's stock plummeted by 7. The financial headline, Founder's Chaotic Personal Life Casts Doubt on IPO. I sat in a cafe, watching on the screen as Thomas was swarmed by reporters. He had dark circles under his eyes but was still trying to maintain his composure. My phone rang. He spoke in a hushed, strained voice. Ava, take down the recording. Name your price. Alright, 40 equity. In my account by 8 p.m. tonight. You're insane, Mr. Lee. If the stock drops any further, the board of directors will be having a word with you. I hung up and sent him the pre-drafted stock transfer agreement. At 7:59 p.m., He arrived, wearing a hoodie, his eyes bloodshot under the hood. "Ill sign. But you have to post a clarification that it was all a misunderstanding." I pushed the agreement back to him and added a clause. Party A voluntarily gifts the shares. Party B will never issue a clarification. Ava. He slammed his hand on the table, the cafe's windows rattling. I checked my watch. "You have 30 seconds. He let out a roar of fury, the pen tip tearing the paper as he signed. Then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I collected the agreement and immediately photographed and uploaded it to the brokerage's verification system. 10 minutes later, the announcement of the share change was released, becoming the top trending topic. Thomas sells shares to survive. I turned off my phone and waved at a black Maybach parked across the street. The window rolled down, revealing Damien's profile, sharp as a cold blade in the neon light. "Congratulations, MS. Song, Mr. Goo. For the next step, I'd like to borrow your seat on the board." He chuckled, his voice deep and cool. "It would be my pleasure." I opened the car door, my dress sweeping through the night. The crematorium was officially ignited. Damien's car stopped at a private riverside club. When the elevator doors opened, a woman in a long white dress stood with her back to me, the hem of her dress fluttering in the river breeze. She turned. Her features were as faint as moonlight. Was Alara, the woman who had a secret crush on Thomas for all 4 years of college. "Ava, long time no see." I took her hand, her fingertips were ice cold. "Alara, you owe me the truth. It's time to pay up." She handed me a yellowed medical file. 2012, Thomas, car accident. Emergency blood transfusion 600 milliliters, donor Ava Song. I scoffed. I saved his life, and he gave the credit for it to Madison as a love token. Alara looked down. "I didn't dare speak up back then. I was afraid if he knew, he would be with you. So I kept it a secret that you were his savior." Who knew fate would play such a trick, letting a bitch like Madison take the credit? "You didn't dare speak then." "Why now?" "Because he abandoned me then. And you're going to destroy him now." She looked up, her eyes burning with the same madness as mine. "Take me with you." I closed the file and clinked my glass against her juice. "A pleasure doing business with you." That night, I sent a scanned copy of the medical file to the company's PR department, CCing all board members. The email subject was a single sentence. "Does a CEO who can't even recognize his lifesaver still deserve to be at the helm?" At 2 in the morning, my phone was bombarded with calls from Thomas. I turned it off, took a shower, and put on a face mask. Before the market even opened, the company was trending again. "Thomas mistakes his true savior." I laughed out loud from behind my mask. Third blood, drawn. The next evening, it was pouring rain. As I was taking out the trash, I saw Thomas standing outside the gate, looking like a drowned rat. His suit was soaked, water dripping from his hair, his former arrogance shattered. "Ava, I was so wrong." His knees buckled, and he knelt in the rain, splashing water onto my ankles. I opened a black umbrella and leaned down, using its tip to lift his chin. "Mr. Lee, the ground is cold. Don't hurt your knees. You have a board meeting tomorrow." "It was always you." His voice was raspy. "Give me one chance. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." I laughed. "All right, first, pay back my mother's $3 million, with 24 compound annual interest." His face instantly went white. "Can't do the math. I'll help you. Principal plus interest comes to 12.37 million. I'll round it down. In my account by tomorrow. I don't have that much cash on hand." "Then sell your stocks. Sell your house. Sell a kidney." I stood up straight, tilting the umbrella so all the rain poured onto his head. "Thomas, you said love was priceless, didn't you? I'm just letting you see the price tag." I turned and went upstairs without looking back. The moment the elevator doors closed, a series of flashes erupted from the bushes opposite. The paparazzi were snapping photos faster than the raindrops were falling. An hour later, a new topic shot to the top of social media. "Thomas kneels for X in storm." The accompanying photo showed me looking down from under my umbrella, and him kneeling on the ground looking up, the angle resembling a devotee and a goddess. The comment section was unanimous. "He deserves it." The scumbag finally got what was coming. I turned off my phone and poured myself a glass of hot milk. Damien sent a voice message. The background was noisy, likely the boardroom. "MS. Song. Thomas applied for an emergency trading halt. As you instructed, I voted against it." I sipped my milk and replied, "Tell the directors I'll be attending the meeting tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. with a new proposal." "What proposal?" "A new CEO." I hit send. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the moon was as sharp as a polished blade. The crematorium fire was burning bright. At 6 in the morning, I was awakened by my phone buzzing. Madison falls accidentally, loses baby. Both topics were trending. I clicked. There were photos of her being carried away on a stretcher, her white dress stained with blood, Thomas standing beside her with veins bulging on his neck. I refreshed the page, and a new post appeared. Madison. Ava, are you satisfied now? The comments section exploded. A flood of messages calling me a murderer. I calmly opened the building's surveillance footage, clipped a 10-second gif of her slipping on a banana peel the night before, and posted it on my secondary account with 100,000 followers. Caption: wishing Ms. Lynn a speedy recovery. Remember to watch your step next time. In the gif, her foot slips, and she falls flat on the ground. I was standing 10 feet away the entire time. Public opinion flipped faster than a book page. The trending topic changed instantly. Madison stages her own fall, fails to frame rival Anne Mascary's. Brands she endorsed immediately announced they were terminating their contracts. The comments were filled with serves her right. I closed my laptop and got ready to go to the office. Fourth blood, drawn. At 9 in the morning, in the company's boardroom, Thomas' mother sat at the head of the table, her face paler than the financial reports. The stock had been falling for 5 consecutive days, and the directors were in an uproar. I pushed the door open and threw a file onto the table. This is the 40 equity Thomas voluntarily transferred to me. I've entrusted it to a brokerage. Ava. Thomas slammed his hand on the table. You promised to help me clarify. I raised an eyebrow. I only promised to consider it. His mother held him back, her gaze as sharp as a knife. What will it take for you to save the company? I held up 3 fingers. First, Thomas steps down as CEO. Second, Madison is permanently removed from the management team. Third, I paused, smiling sweetly, announced to the public that Thomas is going to marry me. To stabilize market confidence. The room fell silent. Thomas' pupils dilated in shock. Are you insane? You can refuse. I pushed the equity agreement toward him. Then wait for bankruptcy and liquidation. His mother grabbed my wrist. He can marry you, but if you have a child, the child must have his last name. I pulled my hand away and wiped it with a tissue. Auntie, we can discuss the child later. That night, Thomas cornered me in the underground garage. Ava, are you using me as a tool? Likewise. His eyes were red. He suddenly laughed. Fine, I'll marry you, but remember this. A marriage certificate isn't a shield, it's a shackle. I reached up and brushed the dust from his collar. Thomas, starting tonight, you'd better play the part of a devoted husband who can't have what he wants. Otherwise. I held up my phone, the screen showing a magnified image of the gift agreement he had signed. I can leave you with nothing at any time. The next day, the front page of the financial section, founder of Shin Corp, proposes to ex-girlfriend in high-profile engagement, wedding of the century to come. The photo showed him on one knee, slipping a 12-carat diamond ring on my finger. I was smiling shyly. The comments were flooded. This is the reunion of the century. I closed the newspaper and instructed my assistant. Order a wedding dress. The more expensive, the better. Put it on Thomas' secondary card. Fifth blood, drawn. The night before the wedding, I started a live stream. The title was 4 simple words. Wedding crash of the century. On screen, I was wearing a wedding dress with a 10-foot train, shimmering like the Milky Way. The viewer count instantly surpassed 1 million. The comments were flying. Most beautiful bride on the internet. I made a heart sign with my hands. Thank you, everyone. Tonight, I have a big surprise for you. The door to the dressing room burst open. Thomas rushed in, his eyes bloodshot. Ava, are you crazy? The ceremony is tomorrow. I waved my phone at him. Mr. Lee, we need to build anticipation. Then, I switched the camera feed to the banquet hall. On the big screen, a video began to play. The photo of Thomas kneeling in the rain. The surveillance footage of Madison's miscarriage. The stock transfer agreement he had signed. All his dirty laundry, presented in a high definition and censored slideshow. The comments section exploded. Massive public relations disaster. This tea is scalding. Thomas lunged to pull the plug, but a backup stream was already running on 3 other platforms. I lifted my dress and walked onto the stage, picking up a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the wedding is cancelled. A scumbag doesn't deserve one. As for the shares, I raised my hand, and Damien walked out from behind the curtain, dressed in a black suit, a CEO pin on his lapel. They have all been transferred to Goop Corp. Trading will resume tomorrow. Thomas screamed. Ava, you've ruined me. I smiled. Congratulations. You finally know what it feels like to have nothing. In the final second of the livestream, I leaned into the camera. Ladies, did you see that? This is what real clarity looks like. The comments flooded the screen. The queen is slaying. I ended the stream and turned to face Thomas' blood-red eyes. Thomas, the game is over. The fire in the crematorium is out. The night the wedding crash livestream ended, Thomas was immediately dismissed by the board of directors. As bodyguards dragged him out of the hotel, he looked like a skinned fish, screaming with bloodshot eyes, "Ava, I hope you die a horrible death." I picked up the hem of my dress and left through a side door. The night air smelled of champagne, a sweet, cloying scent. Just outside the corridor, a hand with well-defined knuckles grabbed my wrist. "Damien, MS, song, the show is over. The shares are yours. What's your next move?" I shook him off, took off the 12-carat diamond ring, and tossed it into a trash can. The metal clanged against the steel. "Move. No. Next is the cleanup." I took out my phone and opened an encrypted folder. The blue light from the screen reflected in my eyes. Thomas Lee's personal asset list complete. Real estate, trusts, offshore companies, cryptocurrency holdings. Even the first stock he bought at 14 was on the list. I handed Damien a USB drive. Within 3 hours. "I want all his accounts frozen." Damien raised an eyebrow. "Ava, you're more of a capitalist than I am." I smiled. "When you kill with a borrowed knife, you have to be fast enough that the blood doesn't splash back on you." At 1 a.m., Thomas had just been admitted to the emergency room. Mental breakdown, requiring forced sedation. His phone on the nightstand buzzed incessantly. Banks, brokerages, personal assistants, overseas trusts, all with the same message. Account anomaly, transactions suspended. He ripped out his phone, ran barefoot to an ATM, and inserted his card. The screen displayed, balance 0.00. He roared and shattered the camera with his fist, blood trickling down the glass. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, I was at a 24-hour notary office. I fed the last debt agreement into the scanner and clicked upload. The agreement stated, the $3 million in startup capital Thomas Lee received in June 2014 was, in fact, the inheritance of Ava Song's mother, calculated at 24 compound annual interest. The principal and interest total $12.37 million, to be paid by his sole remaining real estate asset, the Elysian Villa. The official seal was stamped. I had personally left him a tomb. The very villa where I had been kept as a canary in a golden cage for 3 years, now belonged to me. I took the notarized certificate and walked outside just as the sky began to break. The dawn was like a knife, splitting the night in two. I raised my cup to the first rays of sunlight. The coffee was perfectly bitter. Sixth blood, drawn. At 9 a.m., Thomas Lee bankrupt was the top trending topic. Netizens had dug up the video of him smashing the ATM. His bloody hand pressed against the lens like a horror movie poster. The comments section was a party. ATM. I was forced to carry a poverty I did not deserve. Thomas, from tycoon to thug in one night. I scrolled through the comments, my shoulders shaking with laughter. The doorbell rang. A delivery man handed me a file. Elysian Villa land deed, property deed, keys X12. I signed for it, tossed the keys into the safe, and turned to my assistant. Find a demolition crew. We're tearing it down today. The whole thing. The whole thing. I was going to raze Elysian Villa to the ground and livestream the demolition. The demolition livestream was set for 3 p.m. On screen, a towering excavator raised its mechanical arm like the hammer of judgment. I sat on the hood of a convertible, wearing sunglasses, holding a megaphone. Everyone, today we're tearing down a scumbag's den. Send gifts, and I'll write your usernames on the excavator's arm. The comments section became a tsunami. Sister, bury my ex in there too. Carve scum on a load-bearing wall for me. I raised my hand, signaling the driver to begin. The steel arm came down. With a thunderous crash, a European-style Roman pillar snapped in half, sending dust billowing into the air. I added, 3 years ago, Thomas said he'd carve our names on this pillar when we got married. Today, it gets to be shattered first. 10 minutes later, the swimming pool collapsed, the same place where he had forced me to wear a bikini and serve drinks to his investors. Another 10 minutes. And the basement was exposed, rows of wine racks shattering into a rain of glass. I had the remaining wine dragged out, opened, and poured over the rubble. A scumbag's wine collection isn't fit for a tribute. It's only fit for flushing toilets. The comments screamed, Sister, what a waste. Send me a bottle. I laughed. I can send it. With Thomas' memorial photo engraved on the bottle. The livestream peaked at over 20 million viewers. The donations poured in, reaching an 8-figure sum. I screenshotted the total earnings and donated it all to a domestic violence support fund with a single click. Caption: tear down one scumbag's mansion, build 1,000 safe houses. The topic trended again. Ava donates all demolition earnings. Sister uses millions to repay ATM. I ended the live stream just as the sun sank below the horizon. Like a rotten tomato, I raised my glass to the ruins. Thomas, you gave me a golden cage. I'm giving you a pile of rubble in return. Seventh blood, drawn. At 1 a.m. I was walking through the porcelain shards in the ruins when I heard someone call my name. I turned. It was Alara, holding a black thermos. I watched the demolition livestream. Was it satisfying? Completely. Now I'm a little hungry. She twisted open the lid, and steam billowed into the night sky. It was the spicy hot pot from that night market 10 years ago, with extra beef lung and no cilantro. I froze. She served me a bowl. Thomas used to say street food was dirty and wouldn't let you eat it. Today, you can make up for it. I took it, crouched by a broken wall, and took a bite. It was so spicy that tears welled up in my eyes. Alara tapped the side of the bowl with her disposable chopsticks, like a funeral bell. Ava, after this bowl, let's pack up the past and throw it in the trash. Okay. I looked up at her face, reddened by the imagined glow of a fire, and smiled. Okay. And let's keep the leftover skewers. They'd be good for stabbing people. We placed the empty bowls on the rubble and walked out of the ruins side by side. The night wind carried away the spicy scent, and with it, the last trace of my soft heart. At 10 p.m., I returned to my apartment. As the elevator doors opened, the smell of blood hit me. Thomas was sitting in the hallway, his white shirt a map of sweat, blood, and dust. He was clutching a bank card, snapped in two. Ava, I have nothing left. Are you satisfied? I crouched down and used my key to tilt his chin up. Mr. Lee, don't play the victim. You still have a life in your hands, don't you? His eyes were vacant. What? You received that anonymous paternity test, didn't you? I imagine Madison's disappearance has something to do with you. I held my phone in front of his face. On the screen was a just-released traffic police report. Today at 18:30, an unlicensed Maybach crashed into the guardrail on the North Ring Expressway. The owner, Madison Lynn, was pronounced dead at the scene. Belmas' pupils contracted violently. A gurgling sound escaped his throat, like a chicken being strangled. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "It's a shame she didn't take her lover with her when she died. It was you." Wrong. It was her. I held up another phone and played the last voice message Madison ever sent. Ava, you ruined me. You made me a target of online hate. You kept Thomas from being my fallback plan. You destroyed my life. I'm not going to let you get away with it. The voice message ended abruptly, followed by the sound of screeching tires, a crash, and an explosion. Thomas coughed up a mouthful of blood, spattering the tip of my shoe. I stood up, frowning in disgust. You dirted my new shoes. I opened the door, went inside, and closed it. Through the peephole, I watched him stagger to his feet, crashing against the elevator door like a broken doll, repeatedly pressing the button. The moment the doors closed, I whispered, "Eighth blood, drawn." The next morning, the police issued a statement. Thomas Lee is under investigation for suspicion of inciting reckless driving, illegal misappropriation of funds, and mental incompetence. He has been transferred to a mandatory medical facility. I read the report, finished my milk, and placed the glass in the dishwasher. My assistant entered and handed me a gold-embossed invitation. GU Corporation NASDAQ remote bell ringing ceremony. Time, 8 p.m. tonight. Location, the city's highest skyscraper club. I opened it. In the list of shareholders, it was clearly written, Ava Song, 40 shareholder. I changed into a red dress, sharp as a drawn sword. At the ceremony, the crystal chandeliers shone like a galaxy. Damien handed me the mallet. You do it. I shook my head. No, we do it together. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. I turned my head and looked at the massive LED screen. The old Shin Corp logo was completely gone, replaced by a new one. SY. Like two bolts of lightning, the mallet fell. The bell rang out, crisp and clear. The crowd cheered. I raised my glass to the cameras, and to everyone. Ladies, watch closely. 10 years of your youth can be fed to the dogs, or it can be used to start a fire. And the flowers that bloom from the fire are the best kind. Money to spend, however you want, until you're old and gray, and he's nothing but dust. At 2 a.m., I returned to my apartment, opened the safe, and took out a craft paper envelope. Only one thing was left inside. The first IOU Thomas had ever written me. It was yellowed and curled at the edges, but the writing was still clear. Thomas Lee borrows $3 million from Ava Song. If the company goes public, I will replace this with a wedding ring. I lit it on fire. The flames licked at the words wedding ring, and the ashes fell into the ashtray like snow. I closed the safe. It was now empty. My phone buzzed. A new text message. Unknown number. Ava, are you sleeping well? I smirked and replied, well enough to dream of the next grave I have to burn. After sending it, I turned off my phone, removed the card, and threw it in the trash. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten. I put on my sunglasses and applied one last coat of lipstick in the mirror. The woman in the reflection smiled, her eyes burning with an unquenchable fire. I whispered, in the end, a true heart was fed to the dogs. A 10-year dream. I burned you to ashes. And I am reborn from the fire, and am never looking back.